Okay, well, I'm working my way up the car, and I'm now going to see what I can do with this part of the rear quarter. It's a winglet, but I'll see if I can show some of the defects I need to remove in the paint. And of course, we've got some nice deep scratches all along this panel. Looks like somebody has dragged a fuel pump hose over the car. If you remember, I had to get the marks out from the top of the wing gear as well. But there is more things that need to be corrected in this panel than just the scratches, so I'm thinking that I'm probably going to wet flat the whole of this panel. It'll do two things. It'll remove this scarring that's in this panel, and obviously take away the fact that it's been painted, and also it'll enable me to remove the deep scratches with less problem. But this scar's a big giveaway that runs on this panel. Let's have a look, see if I can show some of what's going on in this boot lid. As you can see, there are some defects to be took care of. See if I can just expand this. Some two or three of these on the boot lid which need to be dealt with. Now, I'm going to work my way around anyway, and but I'll start with this this winglet panel and get this right. You know, it's certainly doesn't look like the rest of the panel does anymore. Right then, that's what I'll be working on this morning, so I'll see you a bit later. Well, let's have a look at this after the flatting. As you can see, apart from the very tip down there, I've flatted the whole panel, and I've used 2000, 2500 and 3000. I'm just going to go over it with 6000, just makes it easier on the polishing, and I'll be ready to start bringing it back. But I've managed to get the line now uninterrupted, so I'm going to use a Car Pro microfiber cutting pad on a 3-inch polisher, and I'm going to use excuse me, the Koshchem H9 for the cutting. I'll then go down to probably a 2000 Menzerner for the second stage cutting, and then I'll use a Car Pro foam finishing pad with a 3800 to bring it up to a finish. So I'm going to get on with this now and polish it, see what it looks like. So I'll see you a little bit later. Hello again, detailing buddies. Right, I've now finished this winglet, or part of the rear quarter, I don't know what you call it, and I've now got it to the best of my ability. Now, is it 100% perfect? No. The scratches along this edge, there's just a little nick just there that's quite deep, that hasn't come out with the flatting, but everywhere else, them terrible scratches that was there before, they've all gone. Now the repair down here that was disrupting the light, that's gone. And now this panel looks exactly like the rear quarter does. It matches the finish. I've took off the orange peel that was showing it as different, and I'm really pleased. Now, some of you might be asking, why do I go to so much trouble in doing some of these jobs? Well, when the car arrived, it come for just a detail. None of these defects was talked about really. But when the owner says that he wants to get it PPF'd after, well, that makes it a completely different story. Now, PPF is fantastic for paint protection, and you know, it is the ultimate that you can put on a car to protect it. But the problem is, when you apply it, if there's any lumps, bumps, bangs, or edges of repairs, it will show up like a sore thumb. And I'll demonstrate. To demonstrate this point, you know, I've been having a bit of trouble with what I'm going to do with this rear window. Well, I've cut some PPF to demonstrate what really happens. Now, as you can see, where I have feathered the lacquer, but haven't got it all off, and as you can see, wherever there's an edge of the lacquer, the PPF will show up. Now, these air pockets, they will sink and they will disappear to a degree, but if I can get the light in the right place, wherever there's a defect in the lacquer, and you can see underneath, if you look through the PPF, you can see there's a defect in the lacquer underneath, and the edge of the lacquer here. So every little bit you can see is where there's a hole or a dimple in the lacquer. Now, you imagine if I left the body panels with some of these, I suppose, scars from repairs, lumps of dirt, they'd show up like a sore thumb when the PPF is applied. So soon as somebody says to me that they want the car PPF'd, then in my mind I've got to get the paintwork as perfect as possible. Hence why I end up going to all this trouble of getting the panels flat. The last thing I want is to send a car out, goes to the installer of the PPF, and they say it's not good enough to apply the PPF. And that's what I'm up against really. You're torn between the devil and the deep blue sea sometimes. How far do you go on a car? Well, you know, I run a rayon pad over that lacquer while I was trying to remove it, and it was taking forever. So the edges of the lacquer are feathered out to a degree, but because there's 6 or 7 coats of the lacquer, you can now see what happens. You know, the plastic wants to lie flat and the edges are not letting it. So that's the reason why we go to all the trouble that we do. You know, I didn't realise when this car come that it was going to be such a lot of work, but at the same time, you know, I have standards that I work to, and you know, if the new client goes somewhere else to have the PPF put on and then they say this is crap, it doesn't look very good on my part, does it? So this is why, you know, I'm spending so much time correcting as much as I can. No, I can't get everything out, and you know, sometimes you have to say I've got to stop, because you know, you can get yourself in trouble breaking through lacquer and one thing and another. But I can certainly make the car a million times better. This car, by the time I'm finished, you should not be able to tell that it's been painted. You know, that's how much trouble I'm going to. So I've just got to crack on and get it done. Yes, it's slow. You know, I've got an arm injury, as you know. But of course, in curing this panel, I've now got to get this panel along the top of the door. I've got to get it to the same finish, or it's going to look odd. So that'll be my next job, is get that panel matched. You know, I haven't got to flat the whole of the panel, but if I blend it from here that way by flatting just, you know, 6 inches and feather it out so that I don't have to flat the whole thing, as you can imagine, it just disguises the fact that the finish stops right at that joint. You know, it's got to look the same, and at the moment it doesn't, as you can probably see. So that's my next job. And of course, as I'm polishing it, the colour is slightly going darker, getting richer, and that's another giveaway. So it's all got to look the same. Right then, well, I'm going to carry on now, and I'll see you on the next one. I thought I'd show how far I'm flatting in to the top of the door. So I've taped off what I've already done to protect that while I'm flatting. Just going to do a 3000 grit flat over this now, and then it'll be ready to polish. Right, I'll see you in a bit. Time to start on the boot lid. Now, as you can see, there's some marks around the badge. There's some bits and dots in the paint over here, and just here. See the edge of a repair just across there, running in a circle all around that area. Very orange peely around the edges, and of course we've got quite a big sink mark that's left a scar over this side, but generally there's quite a few bits you can see in the paintwork. Some more sink marks around this area. Very difficult to show, but they are there. So I suppose it's flatting paper out again. See what we can do with it. It is very orange peely around the edges of the panels. Well, we'll see if we can liven it up a bit. There's some bad scratching along there, and you can see the edge of the repair runs right up to the edge. You can see a part just here, and then it runs in a circle all the way around there up to the edge there. Right, get flatting head on then. See you a little bit later. flatted about 90% of the boot lid, ensuring I've gone down far enough to, I think, remove the scarring. Looking at it now, might need to go just a touch more, but I've flatted this panel where people grab, and that's marked. Flatted the marks out by the badge. Generally try to get as much out as I can. So I'm going to give it another flat where I can just see some faint lines, and I'll be ready to start polishing it. We'll see how it comes out. See you in a bit. Well, I'd say I've had quite a successful day today. Now got the light matching across the top of the doors. This panel's done to a really good standard. The boot lid, as you know, we had some telltale marks. There's one silicone that I haven't been able to get out, which is, see if I can show it, just there. It is only slight, but the other scar that went all the way around that area, that's gone. And it's been repolished after all the flatting, and there's that silicone just in the light bar now, just that one. So I have to say, I'm really pleased with the outcome of today. The boot does look a bit wavy, but it is plastic or fiberglass or one of those composites. But the finish has come out really well. So I'm pleased with the progress today, and we'll have a fresh start tomorrow. I think the roof and this winglet has got to be done. Also, how in the name of God I'm going to polish in there, probably do it by hand, because it's like the black hole of Calcutta inside there, but they've got to be done. But a successful day. Right, we'll see what tomorrow brings.